Real quick before we get started, I want to update you guys on how we conduct these tests here at PhoneBuff. Now, normally we wait until a phone is publicly available before we conduct any tests. So that way we're testing on final software, and that way we're testing the same version of the phone that ultimately ends up in your hands. Now, that said, the community has made it clear that people want us to publish our results sooner. So in an effort to find a balance, in an instance where a manufacturer sends us a device early, like OnePlus did with the Nord, I've decided we'll go ahead and cautiously test these phones if we feel like the software is stable enough. But at the end of the day, because this is still technically pre-release software, it's important to me that we verify these results after the public release, and we'll report on any changes on the YouTube community tab or on any of our socials. So if you want those reports, you can follow us there. But with that out of the way, I have to say, I've been looking forward to the speed test. Now, normally I have at least some idea as to which phone is gonna win, but in this case, it can go either way. In the first lap, the iPhone SE has that industry-leading A13 Bionic chip with NVMe storage, while the Nord only has the Snapdragon 765 and the slower UFS 2.1 storage. But then in the second lap, the Nord has 12 gigabytes of RAM for the model that we're testing here, while the iPhone SE only has 3 gigabytes. So while I expect the SE to have the lead after the first lap, the question is, will its lead be big enough to hold off the Nord from making the comeback? Let's find out. Okay, we'll kick things off by starting the stopwatches on each phone and then jumping into the first row, where the two phones perform similarly in Facebook, with the OnePlus Nord being able to pull ahead in Starbucks. We'll see what happens here while loading this 500-page document in Microsoft Word, where the SE just ripped through it, which is the same exact thing it does here in Excel, already moving on to the second row, meaning just one row into this thing and the SE already has a pretty significant lead, with it now a full lap ahead and showing no signs of slowing down here in Snapseed. As the iPhone finishes exporting the photo and begins working on Adobe Rush, we'll see if the OnePlus Nord can make up some ground here in Snapseed. But unfortunately, it looks like the phone is editing this photo at a slower rate. And to make matters worse, we're now on Adobe Rush, where that A13 Bionic chip under the hood of the SE allows it to export that video in flagship time, while the OnePlus Nord and its Snapdragon 765G is rendering this clip at a significantly slower rate. Now, this is the same exact clip that we use in all of our Adobe Rush tests. It's just a 20-second 1080p video with a simple transition effect added on. Yet this small workload took the Nord an extra 10 seconds to complete, allowing the iPhone SE to continue to pile it on, pulling a full 3 apps ahead. With both phones now in the gaming row, we'll see if the Nord can keep the iPhone from completely running away with it, because if it can at least match the iPhone's performance in these games, it still has a shot at making a comeback in the second lap, where the iPhone SE and its 3GB of RAM has already proven to struggle, while the 12GB RAM in the model of the OnePlus Nord that we're testing here will likely be more than enough. But unfortunately for the Nord, it loads Subway Surfers, Flip Diving, and Fit the Fat at a slower rate, allowing the iPhone to finish the first lap in an impressive 1 minute and 47 seconds, while the OnePlus is still working on that last game in the gaming row. So the iPhone SE has a huge cushion here, even if it does struggle with keeping all of these apps open and running in the background here, as it is with Subway Surfers. I don't know if it's gonna hurt the iPhone SE enough where the Nord could make a comeback. Now, while the OnePlus did load Spotify at a slightly faster rate, it loading ESPN and now Hulu at a slower rate only makes the odds of a comeback that much less likely, with it finally finishing the first lap with a time of 2 minutes and 22 seconds, or a full 35 seconds longer than it took the iPhone SE to do the same. And while the SE is struggling to keep these last few apps open in the background, the fact that it reloads them so quickly doesn't actually make it that big of a deal, allowing it to still complete the entire test in a healthy 2 minutes and 38 seconds. As for the Nord, the good news is the 12GB of RAM does indeed manage to keep all of the apps open and ready to go, which allows it to cut down the iPhone's 35-second lead from the first lap down to 22 seconds, coming in with a total time of 3 minutes flat, making the winner the iPhone SE. Anyways, that is it for me in this video. Thank you guys for watching, and as always, I'll see you in the very next episode.